Ohio approved and licensed for disposal, at Ron Evans Enterprises, they specialize in sewage system installation and repair. Ron Evans has a full line of flex pipe, culverts, concrete and plastic septic tanks, sewer fittings, waterline rolls for the Home American water heaters, along with toilets, standard and ADA. It's all at Ron Evans Enterprise, LLC. Give them a call today at 1-800-537-9528 or 740-286-5930.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
Would you like to work closer to home, save money on gas, and be rewarded for your hard work and attendance? Then Bellisio Foods is looking for you. That's right, Bellisio Foods is now hiring for multiple positions and shifts with great employee benefits, an on-site health clinic, competitive wages, and advancement opportunities. Bellisio Foods is a company that truly values their employees. Apply online at BellisioFoods.com/careers.
Total Media is doing an Easter prize pack giveaway, and all you have to do to enter is find our post on Facebook or any of our Total Media platforms and follow the instructions. Once you're entered, you can win a $50 Stockroom 601 gift card, 2 movie tickets to Tri-City Theater, a 3-month online subscription to the Telegram, 2 Total Media t-shirts from Zip Printing Signs and Marketing, 2 Total Media Radio keychains, and an Easter basket filled with some candy-filled Easter eggs. It's free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and the contest is open to first-time new subscribers. The winner of the prize pack will be announced on Easter Sunday. Good luck!
Good morning, Pete.
Good morning. How we doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Okay, good. Good deal.
Okay.
Yeah. Pete's had a morning.
Yeah. And it's just beginning.
It is. So you have your red shirt on today. Does that mean anything?
Well, I put it on because I have an alumni committee meeting tonight.
Aha.
So that's the Jackson Ironman Alumni Committee. There's no baseball game, but
Okay.
we're between basketball and baseball, our baseball
Yes.
broadcast. So there's about a month gap in there. So I got to bring the red shirt out a little bit.
I mean, you can't let it get dusty or anything.
No,
you gotta get it out and wear
I got
it.
2 or 3 of them, but this is the number one shirt.
That is the red shirt.
Number one, right? I've got a J.I. one, but it doesn't have a pocket for my pen, so I don't pick it very often.
That's not gonna. That's not gonna
gotta
work.
gotta
for
have
Pete.
gotta have 2 working pens in case one gives out. Always.
Agreed. So Jamie has a word for shirts like your red shirt. He calls them the popular shirts.
Oh, okay.
So those are the shirts that you go to. Your go-to.
Right. Okay. Yep. No, I've got a stack lined up, and we work our way down the list
There you go.
depending on whether I want comfort, I want style, or I want warmth.
I hear you.
And then sometimes, which is the one that's still clean.
Yeah, understood.
Right.
I get that too.
We've, as Johnny Cash would say, and Chris Christopherson, sometimes it's the cleanest dirty shirt.
Aha.
Don't tell.
I hear you. You know where I get into trouble is I don't want to iron it. So let me find something I don't have to iron.
We got to do the no iron shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
True that. Well, anyway, Pete, there is a plethora of information out there this morning, and we appreciate you coming in. And I know that we have election results, we have news, we have all kind of stuff going on. So I'll just let you go and chime in when necessary because you're full of it this morning.
Okay, well, it hasn't been all that long since we signed off from our election coverage last night.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't the busiest election as far as the local ballot is concerned, but there's always stuff.
Sure.
We had contested races on the county level in Vinton County. We had the big congressional race that involved a Jackson County candidate and so forth. And so, we'll cover the highlights, but we're going to start off with another major story that we broke in the Telegram yesterday.
Okay.
Involving a local public official. And this story comes out of the United States District Court. It wasn't a news release, but it's information that's posted in public record. And we found out about it and tried to do our due diligence in writing a story on at least what is known right now. But the Colton Fire Department Chief, Johnny Baker, he's actually on a leave of absence as the chief, but he's still on the firefighters roster.
Okay.
But he is charged with 1 count of mail fraud in the United States District Court. And the bottom line is, there's Mr. Baker.
Okay.
He is accused of embezzling. That was the word they used. $226,081.25.
What?
Yes, this was over. This allegedly was over. I need to keep using that word because there's been no conviction yet, but there is a charge.
Okay.
It was $226,081.25 over a period of about 3.5 years, dating from the start of 2020 to past the middle of 2023. I want to make it very clear. The Colton Fire Department is a village fire department, but these are funds that were handled by the firefighters in a nonprofit account. They have bingo, and they also have, and this is this is what was mentioned as the source of the embezzlement. It was money that was generated from a gaming system on pull tabs. A lot of people like the pull tabs. You see these pull tab
Yes.
machines all over the place.
And they're legal for a nonprofit.
For nonprofit,
Yeah.
not any. You can't.
Yeah, I can't have them in my restaurant.
Not anybody
but,
can
yeah.
do that, and not any
'Cause that's
private,
gambling.
Not any private business can do it. But it was set up through charities to be able to make money
Sure.
in different ways. And so, what was allegedly done, according to the United States District Court, the United States Attorney's Office, was that.
Wow.
Thank you, Dylan. What Mr. Baker allegedly did was, of course, there was an account for these private funds that were coming in from the pull tab system, where people, buy the pull tabs. He had an account for that, and it is true that a lot of money was spent to improve the fire department, equipment, trucks, all like that. It changed the finances of the fire department all around. However, he had a second account, and he would move money from one account to the second account, and from the second account, he would pull money and buy things for his personal use. According to the complaint that is on the United States District Court, what they said he did, he spent money for such things as personal vacations and entertainment, sports tickets, a utility task vehicle, firearms, utility payments, electronics, and clothing. Those were all among the things that were purchased from these firefighter funds. Now, these are private, nonprofit funds, but it was created to raise money for the fire department. Now, on the village side, the village has a levy for the fire department, and it creates limited money. That was one of the problems. It's expensive to run a fire department,
Yes, it
even
is.
when you have a volunteer fire department.
Right, correct.
And so Mr. Baker, before he was even fire chief, I think it was assistant fire chief then, he was credited with establishing this system to bring in, nonprofit money to aid the fire department, and it obviously was very successful. My head is spinning, Jennifer, on, I know that this, is a horrible allegation against Mr. Baker,
Yeah.
and people are probably appalled by it, shocked by it. But what does that say about people's desire for gambling? Because a lot of money was spent legitimately for fire department equipment. As a matter of
Correct.
fact, as a person who has attended the recent livestock auctions at the Jackson County Fair, one of the big buyers is the Colton Volunteer Fire Department. They put money back into the community, supporting the kids too. Want to make that clear. A lot of money was spent for very good things. However, Mr. Baker is accused of, using some money for his own use. There is an arraignment that is set for April the 4th, and the filing indicates that there is a plea agreement that is at least on the table. Now, the contents of that plea agreement, what that might be or what might be proposed, hasn't been approved yet by the judge. I don't know. That was not filed. But what was filed as of March the 11th, that was last Monday, was this complaint and the details of how they called it a scheme on how this was done. Now, I talked to Colton Mayor Jim Milliken and Kim Milliken, who, as his wife, was mayor before that.
Right.
They were not even aware of this investigation, let alone that this was going on.
Well, that's what I was wondering. How did this come to be, Pete? And how do we end up in U.S. District Court?
I do not know what the genesis of how the investigation started was.
Okay.
whether I don't know how this money is audited or monitored, or who might have given a tip. How many people in the firefighters, they knew obviously about, the gaming system and that brought in money. I don't know how many other people had control of the account or had knowledge of the account or the accounts in this case. But Jim Milliken and Kim Milliken did not know about this charge.
Okay.
They did not even know about the investigation. All they knew was that at the end of last year, or near the end of last year, Mr. Baker asked for a leave of absence as the fire chief, not resigning from the fire department, and it was unspecified why. He just said, I need to back off. And Brandon Gillen, who is the assistant chief, became the acting chief. I think Johnny has still maybe been involved in some fires and like that. Of course, with the case where it is, we tried to make a contact with Johnny to see if he had anything to say in his defense. And he referred us through a text to his attorney, which is a defense attorney in Columbus, or in the Columbus area, named Paul Scarcella. I emailed him, did not get a response. So,
Okay.
Mr. Baker knew that this was going to go into the paper. It's very possible that come April the 4th or soon after, there may be official information in a news release form. The
Okay.
United States District Court, they do put articles out about major cases that they have. And it's a major case when you have, this amount of money and you have a public official involved. They often report, what's going on. So how it become to be investigated and why it's in the federal court system, rather than local, I can't tell you. But that is where it stands right now. It's an allegation that the charge of mail fraud, you wonder about why mail fraud, and not theft or embezzlement or something like that. I can't really answer that either, but they said how much money they think was embezzled based on their investigation. And the mail fraud, the one count of mail fraud, and remember, federal charges are normally pretty severe,
Yeah.
Compared to
Sure.
county level charges and municipal level charges. The mail fraud was citing one case where Mr. Baker ordered something on Amazon and it came by UPS. And so when you steal or embezzle allegedly through the U.S. mail,
The mail is, you don't mess around with that.
right? So you're messing with the federal government
Yep.
there on the mail. So I'm sure there could have been another charge with a different label or whatever. But this is what the United States District Attorney's Office chose as far as the prosecution.
Well, because they know that's got the biggest teeth.
Right, and we got to say once again, we don't know what the result is going to be, but this is a matter of record. The charge was filed, and there's going to be an arraignment on April the 4th, and we'll know more then
Okay.
about the result
Wow.
of this case, or where it
I haven't heard any of that.
or how it may develop. I had not heard of anything. We were tipped off that this case was on file, and the first thing we did was try to go to the records. We had to get permission to get into the district court website. It's public, but there's a registration system, so there was a little bit of a waiting period there.
Sure.
Then there was the period trying to get a hold of Mr. Baker and his attorney to make sure that they knew we were ready to publish a story and what say you,
Yeah.
to be
Right.
fair and so forth. And so this is where it is. That was our big story that was in our paper today. And of
Okay.
course, it's posted online as well.
My goodness.
And so that's the story we're starting off with. Of course, we had an election.
Yeah.
Statewide, we're going to talk about some local results, district results, and state results. Before we do have an 18-minute video, Jeremiah Shaver and I were on that video. I believe that's kind of a summarization of the results. We can talk about it or we can play the video. I don't know what the clip is of, but I'm sure it's probably the final results. So what do you think? Do you want to do the video or do you just want to talk? We can do either thing. I've got my information here.
Well,
we can still talk after the
yeah,
video. but
let's
that's-
play this video, give your voice a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back on the other side and maybe give some commentary about it.
All right, well, let's do that.
How's that?
Okay.
Coverage from Jackson and Vinton counties on Mix 96 FM. And now, once again, let's go live to Pete Wilson, Jeremiah Shaver, Jeff Thacker, and Red Thompson.
Okay, we want to tell you right out of the chute that we do have the final results from Jackson County, and we're going to give you those here in just a few minutes. But first, we've got another treat because we're going to hear from one of the big winners in Vinton County, and we certainly do thank him after a long day for talking to us on the air. And we are talking about Jeffrey Harper III. That name, if you don't know him in Vinton County, a lot of you probably already do. You're going to know that name a lot more because Mr. Harper won the nomination on the Republican side for the January 3-term commissioner seat. To win, Mr. Harper had to defeat two other candidates, including the Republican incumbent who is now in office, William Wellman. So the votes that we have, we'll report those again. Mr. Harper with 654 votes, William Wellman 596 votes, and Charles Pittman, the third candidate in the race, with 386. So first, Mr. Harper, congratulations are in order.
Hey, I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, let's, for the folks who may not know you in Vinton County, and I know obviously a lot of them do or you wouldn't be elected, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
I'm Jeffrey Harper III, and I was born and raised here, right in Vinton County. I'm young. I'm 24 years old, getting ready to be 25 in April, and actually, in 2018, my life took a big turn. I was in a bad car accident that left me paralyzed from the waist down, and I never let that stop me. Saying anybody that knows me knows that I don't let my wheelchair come just to do anything, help or stop me from doing everything. I always depend on God Almighty, and He always brings me through the hard times.
Well, I tell you what, that is an inspirational angle to your election, that you plowed on and tried to do what you were planning on doing anyway, regardless of that accident. And, we're sorry for that, but I know that, that you've moved ahead from that and have a whole lot of things ahead of you now, especially since you've won this nomination. As far as running for county commissioner, especially at such a young age, Jeffrey, what prompted you to even run in the first place, let alone win the nomination?
Well, I always loved helping people out and seeing them all just having fun, smiling, and enjoying life. And I really, really, really want to help the people of Vinton County out. I want to make a difference here in Vinton County. I want to do the best I can. I might not know all of the powers of the Vinton County Commission, but I do know that I am going to get in there and learn everything that I can, and I'm not going to stop. I believe this is a 40-hour plus week job, and I'm gonna put this job first.
All right. Well, let me ask you this, and don't be afraid not to be humble about this, because this was a big triumph for you over an incumbent and then one other candidate in there as well. What do you attribute your victory to, and were you surprised, or did you expect that this might happen?
Well, honestly, I was surprised. I know William Wellman, the guy that had the seat, has the seat still, but he's a great guy. He really was. I met him. I went to a bunch of the commissioner meetings, and I just get to know him. I don't know him personally or anything like that. I've met him and stuff like that. He's a great guy. He really is and stuff. And I was surprised. I was just surprised that I was born. I'm kind of in shock.
All right. Well, I know you probably had to work hard to get the election. You had to convince people that you were the man for the job. Was there any particular vibe or any particular issue that you picked up from the voters that seemed to make a difference for them on why they wanted to make a change in office?
Yes, a lot of people. I talked to hundreds of people here the last couple months, and a lot of the people. We're a small town here in Vinton County. We don't have very much absolutely at all, and it'd be awesome if we could bring some kid friendly for families to get along and have fun, keep kids occupied, especially keep kids occupied from getting in trouble and getting hurt. Something, I mean, there's all kinds of things out there, and there's places all around us, like Chillicothe and Jackson, but that stuff is 30, 45 minutes away from us, if not longer, for a bunch of us live back in the woods. And it just, people, I want to make sure that our future kids are going to stay safe and have not as, just stay safe and be careful and doing all that stuff and enjoying life.
All right. Well, unlike Kevin Kozad, who we talked to, he has no competition in November. You know that you're going to have a Democratic candidate. We're not sure who. I don't know whether you've heard or not, but Lynn Harold, 1 vote difference over Jeffrey Fee, and then only 14 votes down Jeffrey Betts. But somebody is going to be on that ballot against you, so you're not in yet. But yet tonight, you can certainly celebrate and be happy.
Yes, sir.
You complimented William Wellman there, and of course he was very electable when he ran for his first term. So a great compliment to you that you were able to win. And once again, we want to congratulate you, and we very much appreciate, after a long day of probably wondering and worrying maybe a little bit, we thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Hey, I appreciate it. I thank you.
All right. Well, very good. Once again, that was Jeffrey Harper, who is the Republican nominee for the January 3rd term for county commissioner. All right. We're going to turn to Jackson County because, as we said when we came back from the break, we do have those results in. And Jeremiah Shaver and Hayden Milligan, they've hung with me tonight. I'm going to let Jeremiah give you the big vote total. The one that we didn't know about was the 2 tax levies in Colton because they were close. And now we know the final result. So, Jeremiah, let's have it.
Well, Pete, they're in the village of Colton. Both of those levies there, they are passing, sir. So the fire service levy, which was a renewal for the tax levy, 30 votes. Against the tax levy, 13. And then you had that police service levy, which was an additional tax levy for the tax levy, 23. Against the tax levy, 20. So that was the votes there in the village of Colton. Down in the southern part of the county, Madison Township, Jefferson Township, and the village of Oak Hill there, you had that Madison-Jefferson Joint Fire District levy. It was a renewal for the tax levy, 399. Against the tax levy, 147. So that is where it stands. Those are unofficial totals. We'll repeat their unofficial totals.
Right, and that 3 vote difference doesn't sound like very much, but once again, we'll get provisional votes, late absentee votes, so nothing is settled. But
Right.
At the end of the official count, if the difference in the votes is anything more than 0.5%, there is no recount unless somebody pays for one. There's an automatic recount triggered unless I'm behind on my election law. 0.5% or less. In Vinton County, that one race where Lynn Harold has 145 votes and Jeffrey Fee 144, that is only 0.13% difference. So if that vote would happen to stay the same, and it won't because there's going to be a few more votes, right now, if there was a 1 vote difference, there would be an automatic recount that would take place after the official count. So that one, very much up in the air. We're going to go one more time. I'd like for you to give me the congressional votes because it was close enough that we want to hear that one more time, and then we're going to be able to call it a night.
Okay, I gotta load it here, Pete. I was not prepared.
Okay.
Or as Red Thompson would like to say, I was not ready when the whistle blew, sir.
Well, that is all right. You have hung in there outstandingly, and I appreciate it.
Okay, so pulling up that this is the Representative Congress for District 2 on the Republican ticket. That's the one we've been watching all night. There leading the pack is David J. Taylor, Republican, 25,238 votes. Second, coming in second there, Tim O'Hare, also Republican, 21,050 votes. And then Jackson's Larry Kidd, Republican, 19,159 votes. And do you want me to do a rundown of the other votes as well?
No, that's okay.
I was going to look here to see where we were at on the percentages for that. I don't know if it'll tell me how many's still out. Looks like Adams County is 100% in. Brown County is 54% in. Claremont County is 100% in. Clinton 100%. Fayette 100%. Gallia 100%. Highland County is 80%. Hocking 100%. Jackson County 100%. Lawrence County 100%. Meigs County 100%. Pickaway 100%. Pike County 100%. Ross, Scioto are both all in. Benton County is all in as well. So there's still a little bit out, not a lot, but most of that district is reporting in.
All right, we're going to run down the final vote totals in Jackson County for some of these unopposed folks who were running for countywide office, because that's pretty important that they have received the nomination even though they weren't in a contest. And then we'll also mention the Jackson County votes for some of these district races, because mostly what we've given you along the way is the totals from all around the district, because that's what counts at the end of the day. But we'll do the Jackson County totals as well real quickly, and then we will call it a night. For those countywide offices in Jackson County, these are complementary votes. All 9 of these Republican incumbents have been nominated tonight because they had no opposition. Donnie Willis for the January 2 commissioner term, 2,492 complementary votes. Paul Haller for the January 3rd county commissioner's term, 2,491 votes. For county prosecutor, Randy Dupree, 2,519 votes. Seth Michael for clerk of courts in Jackson County, 2,762 votes. And then the top vote getter for the complementary votes of these unopposed county officials on the Republican side, Sheriff Ted Frazier, 2,802 votes. For county recorder, Krista Brown, 2,593. For treasurer, Lee Hubbard, 2,685 on the ballot. He's B. Lee Hubbard. For county engineer, Melissa Miller, 2,465 votes. And then for county coroner, Dr. Alice Frazier, 2,563 votes. For president, on the Democrat side, Joe Biden, 415 votes. Dean Phillips, who was his token opposition, with 80. So that means Biden got 84% of the vote in Jackson County. In Jackson County on the Republican side, no surprise, Donald Trump runs away with it, even though there were 4 other names on the ballot. 2,972 votes for Donald Trump. Then you go all the way down to 267 for Nikki Haley, and then in double digits, under 100 in order, Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, and Vivek Ramaswamy. Donald Trump gets 88% of the vote there. For United States Senate in Jackson County, probably not a surprise given the support for Donald Trump, his endorsed candidate for United States Senate, Bernie Moreno, who has also won statewide, we think, 1,401 votes in Jackson County, big victory. 990 votes for Frank LaRose in second place, and Matt Dolan, 769 votes, was in third place. So LaRose, who ran third statewide, is second in Jackson County, and Dolan is third. Samantha Meadows for Congress in Jackson County, 422 complimentary votes as the Democrat nominee. Here are the congressional votes broken down in Jackson County. As expected, Larry Kidd, a huge winner. Folks, of course, this is where he has lived most of his life, does business here. 1,930 votes. In an 11-candidate race, he gets over 58% of the vote in his home county. After that, it drops down to 378 votes for David Taylor, and Taylor happens to be the man who appears to be on his way to a victory in the district-wide race. Then it's 330 votes for Tim O'Hara, 256 for Shane Wilkin. He is the sitting state senator in the 17th district, which is part of the 2nd congressional district. Then 146 votes for Ron Hood, 101 for Tom Wang, 79 for the anti-Trump candidate Phil Heimlich, 32 votes for Derek Myers, 30 votes for Kim Georgeton, and 27 votes for Niraj Antani. All right, and then we already gave you the levy results. We should tell you on the Democrat side, there were, on the statewide stuff, Sherrod Brown, of course, was not opposed for senator. So, he's the big winner there. But on the one of the races for Supreme Court, the only race for Supreme Court on either ticket was on the Democrat side, Lisa Forbes and Terry Jameson. And in Jackson County, Lisa Forbes defeats Terry Jameson 248 to 220. We want to mention that not only because it was a contest, but because Terry Jameson actually made an appearance in Jackson County at a campaign event. She went out of her way to come here. So those are your highlights there. And Jeremiah, you have something else?
Yeah, I think we should mention this as well. In Jackson County, there are 20,452 registered voters, and for this presidential primary election here on Tuesday, March 19th, there were 3,973 ballots cast. That is an overall voter turnout of 19.43%.
Okay, all right. Well, we didn't expect a real big turnout in Jackson County. There were no countywide races there. The presidential race, pretty much an afterthought because of the lead that Donald Trump piled up, and Joe Biden, of course, pretty much unopposed as the Democratic candidate. But still some important decisions tonight. All those people on the Republican side that were unopposed running for countywide office, they are winners tonight, even though, they didn't have to beat somebody to do it. Since nobody ran against them, I think you could almost surmise that people are satisfied with them. So congratulations to all of them as well. So we are at the end of a long night that started more than a couple hours ago. And we appreciate all you hanging with us through all this. We appreciate Jeremiah Shaver, Jeff Thacker, and Red Thompson, Vinton County. We appreciate Hayden Milliken on the board. Everything went pretty smooth. Remember, on the telegramnews.com, we'll have some summary reporting tonight. On the website, we'll have more in-depth reporting in Saturday's print edition. Our print deadlines are such that we couldn't do that in the Wednesday print edition, but that's just the way it is. We will also be talking about it a little bit on Main Street TV, and we may have a little bit of a video report to lead into that. So lots more election coverage coming. We'll know a lot more, and we'll have more facts. We'll have some interviews from some of the winners as well, written into our more in-depth articles coming in the paper on Saturday. So on behalf of Total Media and all the team that worked tonight, in fact, everybody at Total Media who contributed to this in some way, we certainly appreciate it. We appreciate the audience out there for listening tonight. Once again, this is Pete Wilson reporting for Total Media. This has been Live Election Returns from Jackson County and Vinton County. Good evening, everybody.
Late night for you, Pete.
Yeah, it was a late night, and I know we skipped around there on the video because for the folks who watched it, it was kind of towards the end there, so we were hitting some gaps in there that hadn't been reported before. So I'm going to go over some main highlights now to make sure we didn't miss anything, that might have not been on the video.
Sure.
But on the local level in Jackson County, bottom line, there were no contested races that were for county government seats.
Well, that's boring.
No, it was amazing. 9 county government seats, the great majority of them were on the line. There was no contest on the Republican side. At the filing time, there was one. Paul Haller, who was running for another term as county commissioner, was going to be contested by Greg Beckner.
Yes.
Beckner filed, but then withdrew as a candidate not long after the filing. So as it turned out, there were no contested races. And now get this, not a single Democrat filed for any of those offices. So that means that we go to November, all those Republican candidates,
they're in.
All they need is to vote for themselves, and they're in. Now, the wild card always is independent candidates.
Yep.
Because they don't have to file until a deadline of 4 p.m. the day before the primary. In this case, that was Monday, March the 18th. Well, you might expect, since people already know that there's very few contests, the way it turned out, none in Jackson County, an independent candidate could choose to run, and their name is on the ballot in November. Mm-hmm. Not a single independent candidate filed. The only other candidate that could file for a countywide office in Jackson County is a write-in candidate.
Sure.
And you don't have to file for that. It's a declaration. You don't have to get a bunch of names on a petition. You don't have to do that until August the 26th. To my way of thinking, if somebody wants to run for countywide office, you wouldn't expect a write-in candidacy as opposed to an independent candidacy because, your name is on the ballot in one case and it's not on the ballot. In the other case, you have to ask. So your chances of winning are much lesser.
Yeah.
that way. So, you know what
It has happened.
Right.
But
What we can expect is 9 countywide offices on the ballot in November, and no contest
Wow.
on the local level. In
interesting.
Benton County, it's a little bit different. There was contests up there for 2 county commissioner spots. For 1 county commissioner spot on the January 3rd term, currently held by William Wellman. He had 2 people running against him. And on the Democrat side, there were 3 people running for that seat. So, you know, there was a lot of interest in that particular seat for whatever reason. And this was a little bit of a, you know, maybe surprise. Both William Wellman and Mark Fout, who was running for the January 2 term, that's another commissioner seat, they are both Republicans, and they were elected 4 years ago. So, you know, going in, you know, you might think that they're the favorite. Well, William Wellman came in second in the Republican primary. The winner there in that Republican race was Jeffrey Harper III. We had him on the air last night on an interview.
Okay.
He's a 24-year-old who was running for the first time.
Interesting.
But he defeated William Wellman. He had 654 votes, Mr. Harper did. Mr. Wellman had 596, and Mr. Pittman had 386. Now, on the Democratic side, 3 candidates. Now, listen to these vote totals. Coming in first was Lynn Harold. She was a former elections director in Vinton County, by the way.
Okay.
145 votes. In second place, Jeff Fee, 144. 1 vote behind Lynn Harold.
Oh, my goodness.
In third place, Michael Betts, 131. Just 14.
Holy moly.
Right, exactly. And so, obviously, you've always got to realize that even though, you know, you think there's finality, the election's over, they always count all the ballots again a week or 2 later. I think it has to be done within 2 weeks.
Yep.
And they also not only count all the votes over, but they add in provisional ballots,
Correct.
which are not counted till later. There's usually not very many, and also late absentees, because you can mail in a ballot on election day.
As
Now,
long as
do you
it's
think
postmarked.
it's not going to arrive until at the
No.
very best the next day?
Yeah.
And also, you can bring in absentee ballots to the elections office as late as 7:30 when the polls close. So they cut them off at a certain time, and so there are always some late absentees and provisional ballots. We do not know in Vinton County how many late absentees
Right.
there are because the mail hasn't arrived yet.
Correct.
However, there are 18 provisional ballots, so obviously that could affect a race where there is a 1 vote difference.
Sure.
Now, so let's just say that it would hold. You know, maybe Lynn Harold gets a few votes, Mr. Fee gets a few votes, and there's a 1 vote difference. If there's a 1 vote difference, maybe even a 2 vote difference, there would be an automatic recount. It's still not over.
Right.
And that is by law. That is, nobody has to ask for it or pay for it. It's automatic. The standard is 1/2 of 1 percentage point. Right now, it's 0.19. That's the difference between 145 and 144. So it's 0.50.
Yeah.
So if it changes, if it doesn't change, and the margin is not greater than, say, at least 3 or 4 votes, there's probably going to be an automatic
Yep.
recount. But you never know. Maybe if there's 18 provisional ballots out there, remember that's Republican and Democrat
Yep.
votes, so they're going to be split up anyway. But let's say that there's 5 Democratic votes there, and they're all for Mr. Fee. Well, that changes things.
Sure.
You know, it could be. So we will see what happens. A little drama continues there. We understand that the official count in Vinton County is going to be March the 26th. That is a week from the primary election.
Okay.
And they'll count everything again. They'll also count the provisional ballots and the late absentee ballots that could not be counted because of when they came in.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens there. Now, on the other side of the aisle, for the January 2 term, there's some finality there. For the January 2 term, Mark Fout was defeated by Kevin Kozad. Mark Fout had 767 votes. Kevin Kozad, who we also interviewed on the air last night, he has 924 votes. Now, so what's going on? Why did the incumbents lose? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
You know, is like, you know, I don't know of any major issue that I could see from my news seat here about 20 miles away. There had been a lot of grants and some good things happen. I didn't know about a lot of controversy, but I know that both Mr. Harper and Mr. Kozad both said that they would contribute full-time to the job. That's always one of the campaign pitches when you're running for commissioner.
Sure.
Because You know, some people say it's a meetings job. You know, you meet once a week and then you do some, you know, some complimentary things, and how much you work behind the scenes, I guess, is up to you or
Right.
whatever. But they both, one of the things that they campaigned on was, you know, being a full-time commissioner. I'm not
Okay.
sure that was the main thing. A lot of times when you're running for the first time, you know, you might say that that's a disadvantage because, you know, your name hadn't been on the ballot before.
Right.
But also, if you're well-known and there's no controversy, sometimes people want a fresh face. It's not even
sometimes
anything.
people want
It's not
change.
even that there's a major problem, but in both cases, the two incumbent Republican commissioners were defeated. In the January 2 term, there was no Democratic candidate. Also, we talked about independent candidates. No independent candidates filed in Vinton County. So when we get around to November, in Jackson County, barring write-in candidacies, there's going to be no contested races for those 9 countywide
Wow.
county government offices
That
that'll
is
be on the
insane.
ballot. In Vinton County, it looks like there's going to be 2. First of all, it will be Mr. Harper running against the Democrat winner, who we don't know whether it's going to be Lynn Harold or Jeff Fee or outside chant of Michael Betts. And then the other race, even though there was no competition in the primary, James Payne was appointed to be the common pleas judge when James Sawyer stepped down last year.
Right.
He ran for the unexpired term on the Republican ticket and was elected without opposition. On the Democrat side, Lena Featheroff Rogers, unopposed in the primary, ran as the Democrat candidate, so she is the nominee. So we will have a contest for common pleas court judge in
Okay.
Vinton County on the November 5 ballot.
Did you hear about the levy in Gallia County? I don't know if you have that written down or not.
I
The
do
police
not.
levy.
I had not heard about that.
It came out exactly 50-50.
Oh my.
So, yeah, which they obviously have provisional ballots and stuff to count. Yeah, it was exactly the same vote, 50-50.
Right.
It just goes to show you your vote counts.
Right. Oh my gosh. Hear that every election. There is some race or issue or whatever where it comes down to that, you know.
Yep.
Or maybe if there's just a 1 vote difference, and you know, if you would have voted, it would have changed the outcome. So, you know, all that cliche stuff
happens.
is very true about every single vote counts, and you know, you should participate anyway. Speaking of participation. The percentage turnout in Vinton County was 27%, a little tad over 27%.
Okay.
Of course, they had those contested commissioner races. In Jackson County, where there were no county level contested races, it was 19.4.
Yeah.
All right.
Doesn't surprise me
in
at all.
Jackson County, there were 3 levies to talk about. And in the village of Colton, there were 2 of them. One of them was a 12 mil levy, 12 mills, a new levy to support law enforcement services, because there is no police department in Colton.
Yes.
And they used to have a contract with the sheriff's department that they did not renew for cost reasons.
Right.
So they put this law enforcement levy on the ballot to see if people wanted law enforcement. Well, that levy passed.
Really?
That levy passed 23 votes to 20 votes. And now, guess what? It is a continuing period of levy. It's not for 5 years or 3 years or 10 years. It's continuing period. In other words, it will stay on the ballot unless the village government pulls it.
Wow.
Also, that vote was 23 to 20. 23 votes for the levy, 20 against. They also passed a levy for the fire department in Colton, 30 votes for and 13 against. And in the Madison-Jefferson Fire District, which is Madison Township, Jefferson Township, and the village of Oak Hill, they passed a renewal levy for fire protection by a large margin, 399 votes for to 147 against. All right, so let's turn real quick to the congressional race. And here you're talking about 11 people in the Republican field for the 2nd Congressional District. The 2nd Congressional District includes both Jackson and Vinton counties, and it stretches almost all the way across, you know, the bottom of the southern Ohio, you know, bordering the Ohio River. It doesn't include Cincinnati, but it's just east of Cincinnati, all the way to Gallia and Meigs County on the east side. And it includes, as I said, Jackson and Vinton counties. Brad Wenstrup is the current Republican congressman. He announced last November, he was not running for re-election.
Right.
So that brought forth a lot of Republican
A
lawmakers,
lot of candidates.
because this is considered a redder than this shirt district as far as
Yeah.
the voting tendencies go. And so, you think if you win the Republican nomination, you got a great chance.
You're gonna
So,
win, yeah.
11 candidates came out. One of them was, of course, a Jackson County
Mm-hmm.
resident and businessman, Larry Kidd. And he put a lot into his campaign, spent a lot of money, and he ended up finishing third. He did very well. He had
Yeah.
never run through anything before.
Yeah.
And he ended up being third. One of the things working against him is Claremont County is the most populous county in the district. There are no big cities, but Claremont County is like, bedroom Cincinnati. Over 200,000 people live there. Well, David
Wow.
Taylor, who won the race in the first place, he is from Claremont County.
Oh, well,
So
go figure.
that's going to help. And Tim O'Hara, I believe, is from that area too. He was
Was
second.
he the one doing the drill sergeant?
He was the drill sergeant. He was the drill sergeant. If you're going on
Commercials. Oh my
Tim O'Hara was
gosh.
the drill sergeant, which must have resonated a little bit. And Larry was the new kid in town.
Yep.
And
Well, and then there was the one that had the flamethrower, and that's just
I'm not sure about who the flamethrower was, but
oh my
David
gosh.
Taylor, he has been worked for the prosecutor's office before. I'm not sure whether it was in Claremont or Brown County.
Okay.
But he is a private businessman who has a concrete company, and his commercial was, on the border wall, if I have to go down there and help build the wall with my construction crew, I'll do it,
Uh-huh.
All 10 of the 11 Republican candidates were openly pro-Donald Trump. That was in their advertising and so forth. Some, it was the first thing that they mentioned. Now, the one candidate who was not was Phil Heimlich. He was the anti-Trump candidate.
Okay.
He was very open that he was an alternative to Trump and MAGA.
Yeah.
And he finished sixth. So I think that was a pretty strong statement that, there's strong support for former President Trump in this area.
Yeah.
So, very, very clear. But anyway, Larry Kidd did put out a statement late last night after the loss, and I want to read just a little bit of it because,
Okay.
he is a local resident. He wrote, though our campaign didn't end in victory, my heart is full of gratitude for the support and dedication of the thousands of people who voted for me. In a race with 11 candidates, anything can happen, and I respect the voters' choice. I called Dave Taylor to congratulate him on his win. I'm fully committed to supporting him. The campaign has ended, but my work will continue. I pledge my support to Dave Taylor, and I promise to work alongside him to secure good things for Southern Ohio once he's in Congress.
Awesome.
The election was just another step in a journey of service to Southern Ohio. This experience has only strengthened my resolve to contribute more to Ohio's future. So that is part of Larry Kidd's statement. And, he talked about thousands of people voting for him. How about 19,459?
Wow.
Now, if you break it down, and I can't recite all the figures, Larry, of course, did very well in Jackson and Vinton counties, and he did very well in the counties contiguous to Jackson County.
Okay.
And he got votes on the other side of the district, too, but that was where, David Taylor and Tim O'Hara had their strongest support, which I guess makes sense because, those are the people that know
Where they're from.
know
Yeah.
those gentlemen. So, other races that we want to mention statewide, if you haven't heard, on the Republican side, three-way race for that United States Senate seat. The winner was going to take on Sherrod Brown in November. Bernie Moreno ended up the winner. It started out kind of close. A lot of people thought it would be a close three-horse race. By the time it was all over, Bernie Moreno was the clear winner.
Okay.
He had over 50% of the vote in a three-way race.
Wow.
553,000 plus. Matt Dolan, who was in second, 360,000 plus. And it really started out kind of close. And Frank LaRose, who's run statewide before as a Secretary of State, he's in the middle of his term, 182,000. Now,
Interesting.
Bernie Moreno, in the early polling, was not in first place, but something happened to change things. Do you know what that was?
No, I don't.
An endorsement from Donald Trump. So that changed things. But even in the polling late,
Wow.
it was expected to be pretty close between Moreno and Dolan in particular. Dolan did not endorse Trump, didn't necessarily come out against Trump, but Frank LaRose and Bernie Moreno were very fervent Trump supporters as far as their campaign advertising went. Matt Dolan was not, kind of maybe more of the moderate Republican support. I hate to use labels, but
Right.
but he was endorsed, for instance, by Mike DeWine, the governor,
Okay.
and by Rob Portman, the former United
Sure.
States senator.
So does that keep Frank LaRose in the office that he's
Yes,
in?
he did not have to
Or-
make a choice. I'm going to run for this
Okay.
instead of this.
That's what I was
He was in
wondering.
the middle of his term. He was
Okay.
elected 2 years ago in 2022 to that seat, and this, of course, is 2024. So he would not have to run for Secretary of State again until 2026. Historically, the Secretary of State's office has been a springboard to greater office, whether it's governor or something on the federal side. Sherrod Brown, you may not remember this, Jennifer. You were just a lass. He was Secretary of State at one time. But of course, he's
Oh.
been the United States Senator now. I'm not even sure how many terms, but that race will be one of the big ones on our ballot in November statewide. Sherrod Brown trying to hang on to that seat
Okay.
against Bernie Moreno. And in
Interesting.
recent elections, Ohio is considered a swing state, lots of votes there.
Oh, yes.
But it has been a little bit more on the Republican side recently.
It has.
Statewide. And this is a big race because of the balance of power in the federal government. Remember, on the Senate, 51 Democrats, 49 Republicans, or I think one of the Democrats votes that way. They're an independent or something. But it's 51 to 49.
Right.
And then, of course, you've got the vice president, who is a Democrat, too. And on the so any race that could go either way is important to the Republicans or
Sure.
Democrats. There's going to be lots of money coming in to support both of those candidates. And Moreno is endorsed by Trump, and I'm sure Sherrod Brown will be endorsed by Biden and the Democratic establishment. So we'll see what happens there. And by the way, there was a strong vote of support, as expected, for the two presidential frontrunners, the nominees. Ohio moves its primary up from May to March only in the presidential year
Right.
because they want to have influence. Well, it was all but settled before it got to Ohio on March the 19th, of course. Trump has enough delegates to be the Republican nominee. Biden, of course, as the incumbent president, certainly had token opposition. But in Jackson County, Biden had 87% of the vote in Jackson County. Trump had 4 other candidates, named candidates on the ballot, even though they were all out of the race now.
Yep.
But he still got 79% of the vote. Nikki Haley, who got out of the race 2 weeks ago,
Yep.
had 14+%
Wow.
of the vote.
Okay.
So we're running out of time, Jennifer. There's lots of other news to talk about, but that will be another day.
Sure.
But the election, certainly, even though there wasn't a lot of contested races and there wasn't as much high interest or turnout as there has in the past, this is very important. The people that are going to serve our counties for the next 4 years, some of those decisions were decided, not only in the primary and a few in the general, but by who filed and who didn't file, So
Yep.
it's very important to know where we stand on those things. We do have some summary stories already online, and we made them free. You can go online to the telegramnews.com. You can also get a vote count of everything was on there. Jeremiah Shaver typed late last night to give us that for both Jackson and Vinton counties. We will flesh out some more in-depth stories with some quotes from some of the candidates and winners for our print edition on Saturday. So that will be a little bit more in-depth. We'll try to give a little perspective to the thing to find out a little bit more about David Taylor,
Sure.
who is going to be the Republican nominee. By the way, it doesn't have a free ride. Samantha Meadows is the Democrat nominee.
Yep.
She did not have any competition, so we didn't hear her name that much last night, but she did run 2 years ago as Brad Wenstrup, so she does have the advantage of having her name out there, and she, of course, will have the full support of the Democrats in that
Yep.
race, although nominally and based on history, that's uphill for her.
Yes.
So we will see. But we already have a statement from her that we'll share in the print edition as well.
Interesting. Well, Pete, I can't thank you enough for doing the recap, and elections are interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, very important. And, tip of the hat to everybody that worked the election. It is
Yeah.
a very long day.
For sure.
They have trouble, getting enough poll workers sometimes. So thanks to the people on the front lines that did that in Jackson and Vinton counties. Of course, our election staffers in both counties, our election board members. And remember, in Ohio, it's bipartisan, as it should be, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. The director and deputy director, one's a Republican, one's a Democrat. That's how it works. And, as far as I know, it went pretty well yesterday. So thank you and congratulations to all those people behind the scenes. They're, in a different way, they're winners too.
Yes, they are. Absolutely. And it's a lot of work.
Absolutely. A lot of responsibility. It's kind of one of those things like a referee in a football or basketball game. They don't notice you unless something goes wrong.
Exactly. You got it. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you, Pete. I know you had a late night last night, so being here this morning is, we appreciate you so much. And we will be back here tomorrow. So have a great day, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye, everyone.
This just in.
The Telegram News has a new website.
TheTelegramNews.com.
Same dedicated coverage.
Same trustworthy news with a brand new look.
Covering Jackson and Benton counties and surrounding areas.
Locally owned and operated, TheTelegramNews.com has its finger on the pulse of the community.
Stay up to date on local events, high school sports, and breaking news.
TheTelegramNews.com.
Subscribe today at TheTelegramNews.com.
Check it out.